If you're watching this video, you'll probably know that in 5 years' time, on the 27th of September 2025, we'll be marking the 200th anniversary of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. The railway that marked the beginning of the modern railway age, leaving an indelible mark on world history. You may be one of those people who think that not enough is happening. So we've made this video for you, to let you know about other people just like you who've already got involved and are making things happen. I'm one of them. My name's Trish Pemberton. I'm a retired history teacher and I chair the Friends of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. I've been involved, I think, since 2014, working to preserve the remains of the railway and to make sure that the anniversary is celebrated in international style in 2025. Come with me and meet some of the people who've already got involved, like-minded people who are already making things happen.
Hello, my name's Niall Hammond. I'm the Vice Chair of the Friends of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. The Friends were set up about 7 years ago, initially on a very informal basis, when a group of like-minded people came together on an evening where we didn't know where exactly it would head, but all passionate about the history of the S&DR and wanting to see something positive done about it in time for 2025 and for the legacy afterwards. 5 years later on, we've come a long way. Lots of things are in motion. The Friends are now an established registered charity, the Board of Trustees, and we help to coordinate and sponsor all the various individual small groups and community groups working along the line and try to get across to all the people in power in local authorities, national institutions, just why they should really care about the Stockton and Darlington Railway. We called the group the Friends of the Stockton and Darlington Railway, partly after the Quaker heritage of the area, but also to get across the fact that we are friends, and it's a really widely varied group, from academics to teachers, joiners, carpenters, former railway engineers, you name it. It's very much a friendly society. What we try to do is make sure that everything we do, however, is rooted in really firm, solid research, so we can get across the fact that our claim that this is where the modern railway began. And most of our research is to be found in our wonderful journal, The Globe, which is edited by Caroline Hardy.
Hello, my name's Caroline Hardy. I'm a trustee for the Friends of the Stockton and Darlington Railway, and I'm also the editor for our journal called The Globe. The Globe's named after a locomotive that was commissioned by the Stockton and Darlington Railway in 1829 and designed by Timothy Hackworth. It was the first locomotive they commissioned, which was specifically designed to haul passengers as opposed to heavy freight. Our Globe has a number of news items for members, telling them all about what we've been up to collectively to prepare for 2025 and to make sure that the remains of the Stockton and Darlington Railway are adequately protected and celebrated. But the Globe also has events in it so that people know what they can participate in over the next few months. The Globe comes out in April, July and December. But perhaps the most important function of the Globe is actually to publish research that's been undertaken by the Friends themselves and a wide variety of other partners who are interested in the history of the railway. The research that's published in the Globe builds on work done earlier in 2016, which we call the Heritage Trackbed Audit for the Stockton and Darlington Railway. That in itself was then used to create a series of self-guided walks booklets, which was funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund, as they were known as at the time. And I've got some here. Here they are here. They allow people to go and explore the line themselves, and we had 7 of these produced. You can download these yourself for nothing from the Friends website, or you can buy them at the Head of Steam Museum in Darlington or at Locomotion in Shildon. Now, one of the things that the Globe does feature is the work in protecting the remains, and we do this through the planning process to make sure that we don't inadvertently destroy heritage assets associated with the Stockton and Darlington Railway as part of the planning process. And our planning officer, who steers on this and does a fantastic job, is Ross Chisholm.
Hello, I'm Ross Chisholm. I'm the Friends planning officer. largely because I have a planning background, and secondly because I've always been interested in the Stockton and Darlington Railway. I was brought up in the 50s on Tyneside, where there was so much industrial activity, coal mines, railway lines, shipyards, rivers. I was quite fascinated by what was going on. I became interested in the work of the Friends when actually I saw a piece in the Northern Echo outlining that the Friends had started and were looking for people to become involved. And it had always been my concern that, having worked in Darlington for such a long time, since 1972, that not a lot was being made of the fact that we had such an important heritage asset here. So I came along to the Friends and spoke to them about my interests and concerns, and here I am getting involved in planning issues and all manner of other things as well that are taking my interest. Recently, my job is to periodically have a trawl through the lists of planning applications, which you can find online, which are being submitted to the three councils, and seeking out those which might have some impact on the ideas that we have for, as I said before, the enhancement and the promotion and the protection of the Stockton and Darlington Railway asset. The planning officers now accept the fact that the Friends have this knowledge, this background information where we can inform the councils of what's important along the line. The various work that has been done is very important to say that this is a designated asset, this is a non-designated asset, etc.
About the same time that the Friends were coming together, a group of people in the Shildon area were becoming concerned about what was happening up here at the Brusselton Incline. A lot of work had been done here back in 1975, and some work had been done since then. But stone was being stolen from the accommodation bridge, and you couldn't see any of the sleeper stones because nature had been allowed to run wild. So they formed a group, called themselves Big, and created a partnership with Durham County Council to get things done. And the result is what you see here today. Big was the first group to set itself up and the first group to become part of the Friends of the Stockton and Darlington Railway, and other groups along the line are setting themselves up to do similar things.
So in early 2014 we were made aware that a lot of damage had been done to the bridge that's behind me, and after a long period of protracted investigation to find out who owned the bridge, which eventually ended up to be Durham County Council, we negotiated with them, and it eventually came to a contract to renew the stonework that had been stolen. In the meantime, we were involved with Historic England, as it was then, and were given a thought about clearing all this embankment, which was totally and utterly overgrown, to expose the sleeper blocks that we now
After the 3 months or so of the major clearance, we then found out that everything was starting to grow again, and started formulating plans for monthly, weekly weeding parties, etc. We'd killed initially and then had to wait for the stuff to die off a bit. But in the meantime, we then got around to getting the ballast from Weardale Railway, which we had to have delivered in big chunks and dropped off in the car park. And we managed to get about a dozen or more people and a small barrow, a motorised barrow to cart it up and down the tracks, which took us all of a Sunday, some 20 odd tonnes or more of coal ballast.
Following all the work and the clearance, we were nominated with Durham County Council's Environment Award and became Volunteer Group of the Year, which we were really chuffed about. We were also shortlisted for English Heritage Awards. We got a high commendation for that, but unfortunately didn't reach the finals, which is a bit of a shame, but that's a more recent project, started earlier this year and just completed, was to put in a display of stone sleeper blocks next to the former Mason's Arms and where the level crossing was and where locomotion set off in 1825. So those stones were being excavated from the Shildon Wagon Works when the new haul road was put in for all the units that were being constructed, and it laid in Reuben Smith's paddock at Hamsterley for 40 years. Reuben donated those, and with again the help of the Weardale Railway supplying ash ballast, I think we've created quite a good display there. Our most recent work, just in the last couple of weeks, was a hedgerow that bordered Brusselton Lane and Mr. Spencer's property. It actually blocked a good view of the bridge as you come from the south down the lane, and there long been a vision of getting that properly laid by a professional hedge layer.
We're just trying to revive this old hedge and get some new life into it. Basically cutting all the dead wood out and bending the live wood over to fill the gaps and to make it a thicker, more vibrant hedge.
That's fabulous, because when the Stockton and Darlington was built, a lot of the boundaries were in the form of this kind of hedge.
Yes, there would be, yes.
So that's fabulous. Thank you, Richard. Can I see what implement you're holding in your hand?
Yeah.
What is it?
That's a traditional bill hook.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's your main. Obviously nowadays we use a lot of chainsaws.
Yeah.
And to do the majority of the work, but the bill hook still has its place.
So really moving forward, we've only got a small group that come and do the maintenance work here at Brusselton. There's probably 4 or 5 of us, and we're all pushing on in age somewhat, and it is becoming a little bit of a chore. We really need some young people on board to ensure that what we've created here is left for the posterity. We shouldn't ever go back to where we ended up, having it cleared from the 75 celebrations, and then finding a jungle again in 20 years' time.
We're now very close to the start of the Stockton and Darlington Railway, near to Witton Park and Phoenix Row in County Durham. I'm walking up the Etherley Incline with members of the most recent group to be set up, called for short the Etherley Incline Group. Mary is going to tell you a little bit about how she got involved in the first place.
Right, well, I'd got involved with the Friends of Stockton and Darlington through Alan Townsend, who's a friend of mine, and that's how I started. And also I happen to live right by the Etherley Incline. I see it from the bottom of my garden. I've got sleepers from the incline in my garden. I live in a cottage that dates almost back to the incline, so I was very aware of the history and that it needed a group. Every other bit of the incline seemed to be getting a group, so I decided we needed one too. It's beautiful. It's all along this section there are a huge variety of plants that were put in specially. You can walk along in any season and there's something growing, something happening. There's a lot of wildlife along here, obviously birds nesting in all the bushes, but we have foxes nesting in the field down there. We have deer on the track, and we had a deer have a fawn in the field below over there.
My name's John Raw, and I've been involved with the Brusselton Incline group for some 6 years now, more or less since its inception. Subsequently, when I got retired, I've had a bit more time on my hands, and I've got myself involved in various history projects, including setting up in the last 2 years the St Helens History Group. And one of the gaps I saw was the fact that at the very far end, this end here, from East Park Farm in Witton Park through to St Helens, it needed bigging up, if you forgive the pun. Pleased and proud to be involved with both the Etherley and the Brusselton group, and who knows, we might have a St Helens group within the next 12 months.
Now brought you eastwards to Stockton to the Preston Park Museum, to meet SIG, another group that operates under the banner of the Friends, as part of the original line survives here in the grounds. Each year since 2015, the Friends, with the support of the relevant local authority, have held a birthday celebration for the S&DR. The first was at Locomotion in County Durham. The 2017 celebration combined a daytime event organised by SIG and a Friends evening reception in Stockton. Sadly, an even bigger celebration organised for this year by SIG has had to be postponed due to COVID. But more about that from an understandably disappointed Barry.
My name is Barry Thompson and I'm a trustee of the Friends of the Stockton Darlington Railway, and I also coordinate the activities at the eastern end of the line under the subgroup, the Stockton Interest Group, or SIG for short. We called ourselves SIG to be a mirror image of a further better established group at the western end of the line, the Brusselton Incline group, known as BIG. So at that time we had BIG and SIG as our subgroups. So SIG as a group evolved out of two projects that were run by people living at the Stockton end of the line. The first was working in conjunction with Stockton Borough Council. We put together a major birthday celebration back in 2017 for the 192nd birthday of the railway. A big marquee in the middle of High Street full of 50 traders and exhibitors, lots of peripheral activities going on outside. The second project we did, just off our own bat really, was the renovation, in fact the recasting and the reinstallation of a damaged plaque that had been on the walls of the buildings at St John's Crossing since 1925, unveiled by the Duke and Duchess of York at the time, who later went on to be George VI and the Queen Mother. Stockton people are very proud of this plaque, for all the wording on it is wrong. It isn't the world's first railway ticket office. But the plaque was stolen, broken in half, ready to be weighed in for scrap basically. But it was retrieved, and it's understood the scene was a bit of a Keystone Cops type chase, and the plaque was retrieved. We had a pattern made by a foundry in Middlesbrough, William Lade Foundry, and they cast a new plaque. And that plaque went back on the wall on the 27th of September, significant date, 2019. And a lot of people were very proud of that. And those two events, the birthday celebration and the restoration of the plaque, gave us the impetus to create the subgroup within the Friends called the Stockton Interest Group.
The Yarm branch opened at the same time as the main line of the Stockton and Darlington Railway in 1825. Again, not a lot of research had been done into the branch as a whole, and it's only just under a mile in length, but it is protected by the Stockton Borough Council in its new local plan. So it's important that that policy can be informed by research so that we know what is there. Now, the Stockton Interest Group decided, this was early last year, to have a public walk from Allens West down towards Yarm along the line, and as a result of that, one of the outputs of that public walk, which was very well attended, was that we thought we would do a description of where you could follow the branch and what was there along its line. This is what we've done, and we've now got a walk booklet, which I can publicise now, which will be available online and in hard copy in various places, so look out for that. The second most important outcome of the walk was that other members of the Stockton Interest Group decided to form the Yarm Study Group, and a very detailed historical account is being made of the line, how it operated, who operated, research into the buildings. This is nearing completion, and we hope to have it to the printers by the end of the year, and this will be available shortly afterwards.
So this year, 2020, SIG had big plans. We'd opened last year with guided walks, including one through the trees here at Preston Park, which is the track bed, the original track bed. And we'd done talks and we'd done a few other bits and pieces. But this year, 2020, firstly, we were going to run another birthday celebration in September. But we also had much more ambitious plans. We had a theatre production in mind. We had hopes to create a full-size replica of Locomotion Number 1 for future processions and artwork, but of course COVID has stopped all of that. All those ideas are still there on the back burner for such a time as it's considered safe to do them. So to conclude then, if you're interested in anything at the Stockton end of the line or coming through Preston, Eaglescliffe and into Yarm, please get in touch, please come along and join us. It's a very informal group, it's really just a list of emails and we keep in touch with each other. So contact me either via the Friends website or the Friends Facebook page or by my own email address, which you should see on the screen.
Walks are really important to the Friends and we organise them throughout the year. Some of them take place in a completely rural environment, but some of them are in a more mixed rural-urban environment. It may involve a visit to museum, such as the Head of Steam at Darlington or Locomotion at Shildon. And the other thing we do is we hold walks in order to carry out practical research, looking for what survives of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. And soon we're going to be doing some work looking for potential problems as part of our work to do with heritage crime prevention.
Hello, my name is Peter Bainbridge. I'm one of the trustees of the Friends of Stockton Darlington Railway. We lead guided walks along certain parts of the route. We get quite a few people on these walks. We get a lot of interest from them. Sometimes some of them become members afterwards, but there is a lot of interest shown on the route of the Stockton Darlington Railway. It's difficult to explain everything, so when I do the walks I tend not to be too specific on what I tell them. You don't want to start baffling them with dates. Just give them the basic details of where you are and what happened here and when it happened.
And at the moment, I'm standing on what is part of the route of the Stockton and Darlington Railway here in Middleton St George. And you can see what an amazing path this is. It's wide, it's got a brilliant surface. And one of the big projects for the Stockton and Darlington Railway 200th anniversary is to try and develop a walking and cycling route along the 26 miles of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. And Darlington has been doing some amazing work here as, if you like, part of that overall project. I've been up here 2 or 3 times this week to do some filming with people, local people. And it's amazing the number of people that keep walking past with their dogs or whatever. It's already being used incredibly. The local heritage of the S&DR that needs protecting and, if you like, cherishing, well, that's starting to happen now thanks to a partnership that is developing between the local parish council, the local history group and the Friends of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. Catherine, the chair of the parish council, is leading a campaign to save the former Fighting Cocks pub for the community, and she's looking for people from the local area, from the village, to come along and help with that campaign.
Hi, I'm Catherine Gilsnan, Chair of Middleton St George Parish Council. Welcome to Middleton St George and Fighting Cock. We were delighted to welcome Ross Chisholm in 2018 to the Parish Council when he explained all about the Heritage Action Zone. And then in 2019, Trish Pemberton, the Chair of the Friends of Stockton and Darlington Railway, came along to explain a bit further, especially about the Fighting Cocks area and what is important in this area in terms of heritage. And then Trish also gave a presentation at our parish assembly last year. And early this year, the parish council set up a steering group to work properly on what heritage we have and to conserve it, regenerate it, as a proper hub along the former route of the Stockton Darlington Railway.
My name is Norman Hugill and I'm stood outside the old railway station at Fighting Cocks on the Stockton and Darlington Railway. I have always had a big interest in railways, having been born on the Stockton and Darlington Railway, and I think it's important that we do all we can to maintain the Stockton and Darlington Railway in everybody's mind as being the first in the world as we know the railways of today. They were the common carrier, and this is the first in the world. In 1975 I was a relief signalman in the Darlington area, so I was pleased to say that I was in charge of all movements along with my other colleagues and that in the signal boxes, and that was covering Darlington, Heinton and Shildon at the time, so I was well used to seeing the locomotives arriving, being prepared for the 150th anniversary celebrations. I also took part in the procession from Shildon to Darlington with the procession of locomotives, and during the time that the locomotives were being stabled at Shildon, I was also part of the support crew for Sir Nigel Gresley, the A4 Pacific, so I'm deeply involved with it. Let's keep it going.
I'm Membership Secretary for the Friends of Stockton Darlington Railway. As Membership Secretary, I have many things to look after, but mainly our members. I'm constantly trying to attract new members to the group. Due to COVID-19, we have not been able to attend any events this year. These events are obviously an ideal opportunity to introduce people to the group, tell them what we're about, and try to get people involved. We have recently advertised on our Facebook page for a fundraising officer and a publicity officer, and more roles are going to be advertised. Please get in touch if you would like to become more involved. We are confident that some of our existing members, Facebook members and possibly people who are thinking of joining us have talents and abilities that could be useful to help to run the group. Thank you.
What is the Friends all about? We're about getting out there, we're about promoting the Stockton and Darlington Railway, telling its story and getting people like you involved in all sorts of different ways. We deliver talks, we work with schools, we work with community groups. We do things like provide walks, we do research, and we do practical work, the kind of work you've seen SIG and BIG and the EIG doing. All of this happens throughout the year, but obviously some things are dependent on the weather, are dependent on the seasons. We always support the National Heritage Open Day scheme in September, and this year we're holding a Heritage Action Zone Heritage Festival jointly with the Bishop Auckland Heritage Action Zone. They kindly invited us to join in on this event with them. You can find out about all those things through our Facebook page, through our website, and obviously, increasingly, through this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and to everyone who contributed to the making of this programme.